I've been using GIMP 3 since I think around RC1. So it's been a while at this point. And as someone who used it a lot, all of my thumbnails are made with GIMP. I am so very happy that we have non-destructive editing and the improvements to multi-layers, like where you can actually select more than one layer now and move them around, group them together. Because before, for anyone who's using GIMP 2.10 still, if you want to handle multi-layers, you have to put them into layer groups, and it works, but it's not convenient. Just being able to click things and move them around like you can in a lot of other tools, it makes it so it really does optimize my workflow a lot. And the non-destructive editing is very nice because now I can very easily reuse things. I don't have to make previously what I would do is I'd make a copy of the layer and then make it invisible, and it worked, right? But it's just extra steps that I never wanted to do. Now if I make a mistake, I can just turn off the effect or I can change the settings of it. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, like one of the big thing about non-destructive editing. Also, it's based on the GEGL engine, right? And GEGL operations, so filters, we'll call them GEGL operations. They are themselves kind of. I mean, we have GEGL comes with a whole bunch of default filters, and that's what all the ones we have in GIMP by default. But also we can uh, they can also be considered as plugins of GEGL. So anyone can also like implement their own filters, and that's one of the huge stuff. Is that I think it's basically we have basically a potentially infinite numbers of filters that people can save in the images. Anyone can create filters for non-destructive usage. And yeah, that's I think it's a big part of the for me, because yeah, there's also one of the things I've been working on kind of on and off, but mostly off lately. But I want to get back to this. Is I want to bring back like an extension platform for GIMP. Basically, you used to have what we call the GIMP registry. But it died. It was basically a kind of forum where people would just upload the plugins and everything, basically.
Right.
And it died like many years ago because nobody was really caring for it, and so they were spammed and bad stuff or whatever. And probably also if nobody would update the platform, the vulnerabilities and everything. And but basically, I want to bring this back eventually. And what I want is like when you go in Firefox and you search for plugins and you install in one click. That's and uninstall in one click and update in one click. That's the kind of stuff I want to do for GIMP. And then people will be able to install plugins, install filters, icon themes, brushes. Like people could like make package of their brushes. So and like with instead of like trying like that's the old way. Basically, a lot of stuff in GIMP. There are a lot of stuff very kind of very high quality, and we also have like a bunch of stuff. Sometimes you say, but what's this doing here? Like kind of. And I can completely see why it's what it's doing here. It's basically back then like it was like a small project and like everybody was just contributing and accept everything. But nowadays, actually, like some people say, "Oh, I get my plugin, get away." I say, "Oh, like maybe we should think if really like this plugin for a very specific use case is good for like the general use case, and people will have like menus with." Hundreds of plugins and everything.
Right. Yeah, you get into a problem. You can't ship every single thing, otherwise you run into a UX nightmare. There's just too much to sort through.
Exactly. So, but it doesn't mean that the use case is bad
Sure.
or
Yeah.
that the plugin is bad. And that's why I want like this kind of platform. Like I want people to be able to like just say I have this plugin for my fancy use case, and it's not a generic use case, so it doesn't make sense to be shipped with GIMP, core GIMP, but it doesn't really make sense for people to be able to upload it,
Right.
and for other people to be able to search for it and install it in one click, and yeah, this kind of stuff, and with some community review of code, like to avoid, of course, as much as possible, like bad actors, and yeah, that's when that's something I've been planning for years, and I will get back to finish this soon, I hope. And as for like you were talking earlier about the multi-selection, that's something which so the artist I work with, Ariam, that's something. So she's also a contributor, right? And so she has been getting since 2012 also to like GIMP meeting and everything, and she will like several times she will say, "Oh, I need to have like multi sessions." Like she was like, nagging people, especially my comment now, Mitch, and I will like this, like, and at some point, like, at some point, I said, okay, let's do something about this, and I think it took me like 6 months of work, you know. Because it's actually similar to like non-destructive editing. Like it's basically code. The whole code is expected one layer selected at one point. So everywhere where there will like be this kind of basically anything about layers, we had to have like the add code about. So what happens when there are like several layers selected? What do we want to do? We want like, so it can be forbid this, forbid can be like a proper answer, forbid the feature. Or it can be, well, if you have several layers selected, we say like, then we can do this. Or like, but basically, whatever the answer is, it needs to be adapted in code. So that's why it took so many months, like 6 months, I think. And like I think in 6 months I did like, yeah, no, it took me 6 months, but actually I had even like tried this in the past few years a few times, and I think I had like thrown away at least 2 or 3 attempts of implementing this correctly. And the last one was the right one, and it took me like many months, but I finally got it, and it's like, and yeah, I think it's a game changer. Like some people will say, like I know sometimes I see some people will say like, oh, it's basic and everything, and it's true, but the point that I think basically, if from the start multi-selection had been allowed, then it would not have been a big deal. Because simply each time you add a new feature, you say, okay, what happens when there's one layer selected? What happens when there's 2 layers selected? But then there was every past developers will only think about what happens when there's 1 layer selected.
Right.
And then basically I had to re-implement the whole feature set.
So
with the case of
there was basically like 20 plus years of assuming single layers on everything. So everything that involved layers had to be redone.
Exactly. Not redone.
Oh, not redone, but expanded.
Yeah, expanded. Yeah. So, yes.
You bring up the GEGL plugins before. That's another thing that I think is really cool. And I've been using things like the inner glow and stuff like that before it was part of GIMP like it is now, back on 2.10 when it was just like a separate set of plugins. And that's another thing that really improved my workflow, because again, you can put a glow around anything by manually doing it, increasing the selection and then doing like a feather. It was not good to do it though. It was really annoying. So just being able to say, okay, I want to glow, I just all of these things, again, it it makes it so much easier to work having those plugins. These are basic ones. I'm sure there are a lot more complex things that you could be doing that I personally don't have a use case for, but I'm sure somebody else out there does. And that is
Yeah,
why I think that that extension platform idea is a really good idea, because this is what, like, KDE has this with their extensions, GNOME has this with their extensions, and right now getting extensions, it's sort of a matter of finding some random GitHub account or GitLab account, and maybe you'll be able to find it, but there's just no easy way to search for them.